Yeah, my people, I don't come again to update our mindset. Like you all know, this our brother Nnamdi Kanu, this man, he don't suffer. He don't suffer. For us, we all know say yes, he still really use the mat. He must still really drunk come out to. But inside there, that they get issue. Father go use left hand beat, he go use right hand drunk come. Say still pet am. Yeah. We know say if not this guy for comment, he not supposed to do that custody up till now. For the fact say we know where for they come now, and Buhari now, he no even want hear anything about Biafra because another Biafra matter, another one now they prepare that for body because no one can divide in government. That one now me no one hear. That's why he hide that guy for that place till he go calm down. But I like the video when Governor Soludo make when they ask say yes, make Buhari abeg make he release Nnamdi Kanu before he go calm down. That is tomorrow, May 29. But me, I believe say it's not going to be possible when they will release Nnamdi Kanu tomorrow before they will swear Tinubu in. It's not possible. That is why I will bring up this video. Make una see the assurance of Nnamdi Kanu, the people of Nnamdi Kanu say yes. Make them no worry. Say if Buhari no release Nnamdi Kanu before May 29, that if Tinubu by any chance then swam in get the access and the privilege to talk to Tinubu when they release Nnamdi Kanu. So maybe not talk too much. I go bring up the video, now watch them and hear everything when they talk about this for Nnamdi Kanu issue. As you they watch them, I use name God beg you. Make sure you go like them, comment, and also share them so that Facebook will also recommend them to other people when never see them. And if never they follow me, follow my page and also subscribe to my YouTube. Thank you.
To push the incoming administration to release Nnamdi Kanu, leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB. Soludo said if Buhari fails to release Kanu before May 29, when he hands over, he would appeal to Tinubu to take the action, noting that Kanu's release would bring about sustainable peace and security in the southeast. Since assuming office, Governor Soludo had severally appealed to Buhari to release Kanu, who is locked up at the Department of State Services, DSS. I mean, this is not the first time Governor Soludo would be appealing to the government to release Nnamdi Kanu. But of course, there are several fears that have been, reeled out by the Attorney General. One of them is, public and national interests.
I have also suggested that we could look at other means of resolving this logjam. Because for me, I have no sympathy for Kanu, but I have sympathy for innocent people who are dying. And the deaths of innocent people in the southeast are not disconnected from this Kanu affair. We were not having this kind of needless killings before Kanu was put in the slammer. And whether we like it or not, we've seen people like him who took up arms against their state come to the reality that, look, they cannot defeat the state, and they decided to lay down their arms. But the state must also be willing to sit down with Kanu's handlers and say, okay, what are the terms? Let's look at the terms for a settlement. You are going to renounce armed struggle with immediate effect. You are going to recognize the territorial integrity of Nigeria and by extension its borders, which means Nigeria's indivisible reality. You have to respect it. So if Kanu will agree to that, and nothing is possible, it's impossible. Never say never. There are people who say no, it will never. Even Kanu will not agree, so it's a waste of time. I disagree. It's not the first. There are militant leaders more ferocious than him across the world, who at the end of the day decided to embrace peace.
Yes.
I was talking about the people of Colombia, the government and the FARC rebels. They've been fighting each other for years. That the civil war in Liberia is more than 60 years old. But today, they are telling themselves that, look, we have to sit down and talk. Because all of these battles will just go on and on and on.
Yes.
The battles in Congo Democratic Republic, do you know for how long they've been there? There are so many like that, very long civil wars and all that. We have to find a way. The people who are killing themselves in the armed forces who have turned against themselves in Sudan, if they can find the right rapporteurs, I'm sure they will agree to work together. You know, maybe what it will also lead to is power sharing and all that. We've seen that happen. We've seen in Qatar and NLC, who used to behead one another in public. We've seen them come together and power sharing happened. Buthelezi was made a vice president, you know, at that time, and they agreed. They stopped killing one another. You won't even remember that there was a time that the Qatar Freedom Party and MLC people used to kill one another in South Africa. It was the shame of Africa at that time. They were calling it black on black violence. And I've seen some tapes where somebody will be told to kneel down, and then they are slaughtering him in broad daylight. You know, these things were happening. It felt like there will never be an end to it. But they found an end to it, and it wasn't a military end. It's not everything that can be resolved by force. When we talk like this, some people will say, oh, Jide has even become Nnamdi Kanu's friend. Oh, Jide is this, Jide is that. We can't always think, have one track reasoning, just thinking the same way. If one method does not work, it is our duty to try to think of other ideas that can bring about peace. This is where it ends. What's my business with Kanu? But I have so much interest in the peace of that area. And I'm happy that Bola Ahmed Tinubu, during his campaign, said he will be willing to talk to people in the southeast who are causing all the trouble. We will encourage him to go ahead and do it as long as it leads to peace. That's what I'm after. Kanu, if Kanu will agree to drop his arms, stop all this anti-Nigerian rhetorics and all that, and behave normal, which is a street lingo that a lot of you, if you would do normal, you know the way they say, if you say normal, we will agree to. We will agree that I'm sure the government will be happy, because it will lead to, even the economy of the area will improve, because all those silly Mondays, don't go out on Mondays and all that. Come on. These are people who have made a habit of opening their containers on Monday morning. You tell them they can't work on Monday. It has to stop at some point. And whatever we can do to put an end to it, let us do it. I'm not surprised that Soludo is leading. He's not from his state, but Soludo state must be one of the states badly affected, because they have key business people in Anambra, especially in Nnewi. Perhaps they have the highest number of billionaires per square meter in Nigeria.
All right, Mr. Bolaji, Biki has talked about negotiation, but do you think Nnamdi Kanu would succumb to negotiation? Because, you know, one of the fears Malami continues to argue about is that Kanu's history suggests it could use his influence to launch a foreign attack against Nigeria.
Well, the issue of Nnamdi Kanu is a delicate and touchy one, especially for our people from the southeast. And it has to be handled delicately. Even discussing issues like this, you have to be mindful of even the way you are going to express opinion, because it could be misconstrued. But what is wrong, and what is right. Kanu didn't do well. I've had some of these campaigns. I'm sure most people have had the campaigns against the country. You are waging war against Nigeria, and you are caught. The thing is, you face the music, you are caught. You face the music, both because of this crisis we find ourselves. And like Jide said, everything is not about force. If there is room for negotiation, and if it's going to agree, and I don't know whether I would agree. I don't see Nnamdi Kanu agreeing to negotiate and saying he's bullying away his fights against the Nigerian state. And I don't know whether that is going to be resolved. But if he's willing to stop soft pedal, well, I don't see any reason why he shouldn't be released. At least the government that is coming is supposed to be a government of reconciliation, a government that is supposed to heal all wounds, a government that is supposed to bring all the warring parties together to the peace table. So if that is the case, then they should look at a possible solution to the Nnamdi Kanu problem.
Okay, do you think the federal government is ready to lose guard? Because recently the federal government just issued 9 fresh charges against Nnamdi Kanu.
But you know, a new government is taking over. It's possible that even some of the cases that Malami started will be discontinued. After all, Malami too is known to have discontinued some cases. The Attorney General of the Federation has the power to discontinue any criminal matter in our country, and nobody will ask him questions. It's well within his powers. So it's up to the incoming Attorney General to look at all possibilities. Perhaps Kanu's people have been reaching out silently from behind the scene. We will not know, you know, because these days there's a lot of campaign by his lawyers for him to be relocated from the DSS detention facility, prefer Kuje prison and all that. And we had an American lawmaker saying last week or so that they were going to kill him. They must release. We went to the Supreme Court with the desire to set aside the judgment of the appeal court, because the appeal court can't set aside its own judgment, but we secured stay of execution, you know, and then the Supreme Court decided to wade in. We approached the Supreme Court to wade in with the intention of setting aside the entire judgment which favored Kanu. I've read that judgment. I don't know. I mean, I've read the court papers, the appeal to the Supreme Court. It's neither here nor there. I'm not a lawyer, but it's on record that we are predicted on judicial outcomes, and that was what happened in the end. But I think that we should not be rigid in finding a solution to this problem. Yes. We should be open to all kinds of possibilities, and I also think that it is in Kanu's interest to give up this. You can't defeat the state. You can. You must realize that you can't defeat the state. Our brother Sunday Igboho, we saw how it ended. You just can't defeat the state. Let's tell ourselves the truth. In the end, it was even outside Nigeria that they held him, because Nigeria was already too hot for him. People must realize that they can't defeat the state. All the people hitting their heads against the wall because of the outcome of the 2023 general election, they must also realize that they can't defeat the state. It's as simple as that.
All right. It was a noteworthy VIP tour to see